In the autumn of 1888, the bloody murders of 5 East End prostitutes had brought London to a state of panic.
These women had been butchered, they'd been eviscerated. It was not, they hadn't just sort of had their throats cut in a back alley, they had been carved up. It was horrible.
Although grisly murders in Whitechapel weren't unusual, the killer was never caught, and his spree entered folklore. It took 82 years for Eddie to be fingered as Jack. By then, hunting the Ripper was an industry. But when in 1970, an amateur criminologist by the name of Dr. Thomas Stowell made the sensational claim that Queen Victoria's grandson was the killer, it was soon reported around the world.
The story of Prince Eddie, of course, is just an absolute winner. Anything that brings in royalty, scandal, prostitution, and wrap that up, and Prince Eddie, it would appeal to anybody.
Dr. Stowell couldn't produce a shred of evidence and based his whole case on the prince's fondness for hunting in the Highlands.
With his father's friends, he stalked deer on the family estate in Scotland. This gave him many opportunities of watching the dressing of the carcasses. In doing this, he would have learned how to remove bowels, heart, lungs, and uterus neatly.
Curiously, the murder of Annie Chapman in Hanbury Street, the suspect is described as wearing a deerstalker hat.
The name of the once obscure prince was now familiar to every crackpot and crank in the land, and a few years later, a BBC documentary broadcast yet more sensational claims. They were made by a man who said he was none other than the illegitimate grandson of Prince Eddie himself. Sickert said Eddie wasn't the killer, but the cause. He'd fallen for a Catholic, Annie Crook, wed and had a child. They met in Cleveland Street.
That's quite a story.
His claim is this would have caused a very major constitutional crisis, even a revolution in his view, and the powers that be took action against anybody who knew or had an involvement in this scenario.
For Sickert, the Ripper murders were not the serial rampage of a madman, but a heavily disguised attempt to hide the truth about Eddie's guilty secret. The assassin, according to Joseph Sickert, was the royal physician Sir William Gull. Soon the bestsellers and blockbusters were blaming Eddie. Several films followed, and the glossy, big-budget From Hell was just the latest to put the prince's illicit liaison with a Catholic girl at the salacious centre of a state conspiracy.
I demand an explanation!
Popular culture was rewriting history, and Eddie had gone to Hollywood. The Ripper accusations might have been risible, but as the final act in the defamation of a prince, they found a willing audience.